Well, hello there, guys, and welcome to the long anticipated post stream of the Titanic's 112th anniversary of its sinking. Now, I do have to apologize. I did leave it quite a long time because, I did say I was going to do this possibly at the end of April or somewhere near it. But because of a lot of personal things regarding my family, obviously to do with my nan's health and everything, being rushed to the hospital, I had to keep postponing it and had to do other podcasting with some of my friends until I was free enough. But here we are, and apparently, with it being at the end of April and everything, so I felt like I just want to wrap it up with this one and, have a good time like we did when I had it with the last two streams because we had a good celebration, and if anybody wants to join in, pick up where we left off, that's fine with me. No, even though we sometimes differ with different topics, surrounding Titanic, and then we go to one subject to another. But that's bound to happen when you're on my streams anyway, which does sometimes help for the sake of entertainment wise. But either way, it's going to be unbelievable because we're nearly halfway through this year already. I mean, tomorrow's going to be May 1st, aka May Day. It's just unbelievable. I mean, how time is going too quick for us is beyond me, And again, if anybody wants to join, I have left the link here in the description box for you if anybody else wants to join. But besides all that, it's going to be like fantastic, I actually did a couple of updating, and it turns out that the Titanic 2 project is kind of going ahead. It does look like we might get to see it after all. But I'm keeping a very close eye on it because the site has been upgraded quite superbly, actually. You'll be quite surprised to know. Hey, Astro Boy, nice to see you again. Second time in a row making it to the stream first.
Yeah. Yesterday, something horrible went wrong with the group that I was in.
Oh, that again? What? I don't know if you should tell me here or not, but I'm not sure how bad that would have been, but it seems like something must have gone wrong on your group there, Astro. What happened?
Okay, so I first joined into this group that is about the iconic web comic that is called Sabrina Online and stuff like that.
Never heard
And
of it.
ever since when I first came in, maybe 2 or 3 months later, I got rejected. Like I
Oh,
was being kicked out of the group for something that I never did.
either it's because it's the toxicated fans who just believe what they want to hear. Trust me, I've had this done to me several different times regarding in the Thomas Trains fandom, okay? Where they'll just recognize me and they'll just instantly just start saying, "Oh, remove this guy. Here's a you know what," which I'm not going to say because it's the P word. I'm not going to say it, which I am not, because that's the accused abusement I have to endure, unfortunately. Because there's some great train concepts in the fandom of Thomas, which are just brilliant, and some are exclusive contents which you never find anywhere else. But I have been able to find on some of the other sites which are fantastic. But like you said, Astro, I also got flatly banned out as well because they believe of my past mistakes of who I am not. So I have to suffer that, unfortunately, because that's just how the modern fandom is. They'll believe anything, and as they say, it's always the greats and the icons who have idolized all the others who become revealed to be bad people, and I'm just unfortunately a misunderstood person who is still seen as a bad person when I'm obviously not. And there's just no way I can't convince, even if I have shown to be a very changeable and very, you know,
Yeah,
much
but
better person.
here's something I should tell you about though. The
What's
way
up?
how this happens is because what they always believe that I've always talked too much about trains, ships, and all that, and they always claim that I would take someone else's role.
Well, you do have an intrigue. We all have our own interests and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're taking people's roles or whatever the case, which I don't think you've done, then obviously someone's been feeding them false information, and I'll believe it.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to take anybody's role.
if you're trying to fill in for someone, to save up space, I can get that. I get that, but you're not like deliberately out of trying to. I can tell.
Yeah, I try to tell them that I'm sorry for talking too much about all this stuff, but they just kept going and all that, and they just won't stop. And so later on, I got banned in the group, and pretty much that's how it all happened. Like I did not talk way too much about the trains and ships and stuff. It was only just one time.
Well, like I said, there are just some people who just only want to listen to what they want to hear and everything else, and yet, like you said, that there's rules to be followed, and hell, I always see the rules I'm in on the Discord servers that I'm in, and I'm always, following them. I don't break any rules or whatever, you know. And then,
Yeah, I
I
always followed the rules though,
I
but
always told,
they just
I've
seem
always
to be
told,
don't care about it.
and I've always told the actors, I mean the leaders, as best as I can, saying what was done of me in the past isn't quite true. I'm not what I was. I haven't done now. I was like a setup. I was someone who got set up and took advantage of. So I was meant to look like that when I obviously am not, and hardly anyone won't believe me. And then I'm like, if that's their way of it, then I can't convince it. Then I'm just gonna have to stick with it, and that's what I really find verbally frustrating. And as much as I try and hide the fact that I was a victim and not the other way around. And, you know, some of my closer friends looked it up and they know for a fact I'm telling the truth. But I'm sticking with the friends I've got and I'm trying to stick with, with what I do have and just want to stick with the right people and just rebound from there. But I can't get the right recognition despite I get good comments and good word from fans who loved what I did in the past. Like my Ghost Train filming and the 311 stuff, and of course, some of the fanfics are right on there as well, which is brilliant, and I respect that. I'm glad that I still get recognition, but there are those in the fandom, and especially in the Thomas fandom, whatever's left of it, regarding the trains community is the main major problem. That because all the discords who invite me in, even my good friends who want me to join, I just get bastarded announced it immediately because they believe that I'm a unibot. I'm not going to say it because obviously others have had that problem and it's happened to them too. But I haven't committed anything like that, and I couldn't do that because if I had, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, and here's also the thing: I'm not the only one who was rejected. Someone else got rejected too.
And who would that be?
He is a YouTuber by the name Saxon Starfighter, which his real name is Steven. He only got to join in on this group just like I did. He did only just this once, but then all of a sudden, like later on, he got rejected as well.
Yeah, I mean, I find some of the stuff I find to be enjoyable because I tend to look in their servers too. Like I looked into Discording on some of the Thomas Train websites. If you check on some of the best ones I've ever seen, which do amazing mesh reskins and whatnot. Um, I've seen some of the best Discord ones I've seen, which I'm in, and I only look to see what they've got and who's there and who I could find because some of my best friends are in there, and yet they're allowed to stay in and I'm not, which makes me feel like there's favoritism going on. And when I look in, I just see what they've got, and I really, really enjoy their content. And that's the thing. I just love what I see, and it could work for my Thomas universe in trains or just for some fun because they look so amazingly well put together. There are some that I feel deserve good praise and recognition, and there are some exclusive content which are fantastic even all the way. And I still credit them. What I try and tell people, unlike many others in the fandoms, I give those tremendous credit and just praise that they deserve. That I feel that they just don't get enough praise and good appreciation for the hard work they put in, and that's just me. I feel like that's the thing with modern day people. They do so well, but the praises they get isn't enough. So literally tell them, with passion and from the bottom of my heart, that they are very good and they have potential talent. And yet the trouble is, some of them who make these models and do just like fantastic stuff tend to reveal who they are underneath, which is the tragedy, the fandom, you know. And I'm still one of those guys who was like still a good lad, but they all believe who I am from the past, which I'm not anymore, you know. And that's the
Yeah,
problem. I love what they make, you know, and I think that's one of the best things that keep the franchise and the fandom going. But at the end of the day, you know, that they always say, "Oh, ban came this guy. It's Kane Fan. He's a you know what, you know," which I am not. I mean, even if I explained, it would only just trigger. So I try and figure out what's the right thing. Should I or not? Because I try and talk my way out of it to know that that isn't true. Then I feel
yeah,
like I only just make it worse. So what I did last time, I just got out there and just didn't bother. But there was one server in particular I was in, and they barely had anything. Like anything was there, and I was very disappointed, and so I left. So I left that server, and because I had higher hopes and anticipation, I could find something, and there wasn't. Literally nothing was there, and that was very disappointing. And I'm not that very oftenly disappointed when it comes to that, but I was. Where the best ones who have got me banned for nothing, they have some amazing stuff, and I've only
yeah,
got one of my friends who's still there, keeping an eye on the exclusive stuff, and he shows me what's there, and it's fantastic. But that's the thing, and no matter what would happen, even if I changed or had a rebrand or whatever the case may be, even my voice is too recognizable. There's just no way I will be able to convince, you know, and that's the modern day problem that I'm currently having at the moment. And a lot of my friends just say, just stick with us. We've got you covered, you know. And it's just really frustrating. Even guys like my buddy Brandon, Ginger Jesus we call him, he had some ups and downs in his life. He like myself, yet somehow he's able to stay. And yet you
uh
have other
huh,
guys, and there's other of my lads which I won't say. They are also in there, and they're really really good, and they're allowed. And yet it just feels like I'm among those who are so bad, you know, and I'm
yeah,
not. And I've explained numerous occasions now for the last 2.5 years. I've had a great rebound, and I'm happy in life. Like I feel happy, but everything around me just doesn't feel that way, and I feel more sorry and you know heartbroken for some of the members who still believe that that I'm quote unquote unchanged and just seen as a good lad who's just hiding his true thing as a villain, which I am not. So I don't hold any hatred. I don't hold any aggressive acts. It's just the fact is for me, I just feel sad and upset and honestly disappointed in some people who think that guys like us who may have made mistakes in the past can't redeem or change. Well, I can, and I've proven it. And yet, it feels like in today's time, there's no such thing as change. It's like once you've done something by accident or whatever the case, you see as a bad guy. And I'm honestly frustrated with it. Like I've done my end of the deal, and I'm happy with myself in life. And I just try and just give people credit for what they deserve, which make good content or for the best of their ability. And that's just it. I'm just trying to show that I can be respectful.
yeah. Even so, I still needed to apologize for after what happened in that group, though. I mean,
You
I
have
didn't
nothing.
really talk that much of the ships, and trains, and all that stuff. I mean, it was only just once. I didn't talk that much about that. I just let them do their own thing and let them have some fun without interrupting them.
Astro, you have nothing to be apologized, mate. You were just doing what you did best, okay? It's like you did on my streaming. I didn't ban you or kick you out because I gave you all the time while I was resting my vocal cords up. So there's nothing wrong with it. Give your time to have the floor and speak your mind out, and that's it. Nothing wrong with it. You're just socializing and telling them your own interests and everything else.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And
That's what you were doing.
I just needed to, maybe I just need to let them have time so that way they could think about it, though.
I don't think they will. That's the problem. People won't think about it or they won't talk about it, and that's the problem.
I only been in that group for nearly like 4 months, just like a short amount of time. This is the second time that I was rejected from a different group. The first time I was rejected was from Super Origami Kingdom.
Which I heard about.
Yeah, and honestly, and to be honest, I feel like that I didn't even tell the members of the Sabrina Online fan club group that I was once rejected from a different group. I should have at least tell them that, and I completely forgot.
Hmm. Like I said before, there's just so much of a forever problem, you know. Like I said, and that's what I mean, and that's my current frustration, as you can tell in the chat box. That's how I feel. Like I still love Thomas and Friends, and I love the trains video game fandom because obviously with American trains and other stuff, because that's what keeps my interest going, and I feel that's what keeps the franchise going. I mean, we don't need the actual series itself after where it's going. However, though, like I said, despite this is a post Titanic stream as I promised, we've gone from one subject to another. But again, as I said before in the beginning, that's what you can expect when you're in my streaming and everything, and that's natural. Okay, Jason, I know you want to come in, but like I said, it's fine. I can tell you're here, and I know you like to get in, but I won't do it if anyone demands or whatever. Okay? If anybody else wants to drop in, you can, but I can only select only a few more people because of the space limitations. I'll see if anybody else wants to pop in. Um, hmm. Again, sorry guys, if I'm not talking, I'm just trying to find other guys who would be willing to join us. That's all right, Astro. I can tell. I can tell you're muted for a bit. Huh. Somebody called Werewolf, aka Rope, but his actual name is Rope Jackson, has joined in too. Huh. I'm not so sure who that is, but oh, it's you, Werewolf. Oh, I see. Well, oh, I see. Hang on, I'll just put you in. Hang on. Oh, there's your symbol. You changed it again. Okay, I'll put you in. See what we got. Hey, Werewolf, welcome in. Oh, Astro Boy's still there. Hey, Astro, are you muted or something? Yeah, there's some voices in the background. That's a bit weird. Astro, you still there, pal? Huh. Very strange. Hey, Rope, that was a bit weird. Oh, I didn't know your mic was glitching there, Werewolf, but it says that your thing is unmuted. See, you're muted and I can't even see nothing.
Oh, it's
That's very strange.
oh my. Of yes, yes.
That is
So,
very strange.
so,
That is very weird. That's never happened before. A glitchy microphone on somebody else's side. Very strange. Oh God, Robert, look. I know you like to do jokes and everything else. Like, what if Darth Vader went to Sodor? It's happened before in the past, long ago. Now you're asking about Spider-Man visiting Sodor. Look, Robert, I know you are a big fan of mine, and I know you prefer me on DeviantArt and in other places and everything. But dude, I'm being deadly serious now. I'm gonna have to be very honest with you, Robert. I'm getting to the point where it's kind of getting annoying with your what ifs and everything else now. Because honestly, it's been really getting me a bit pissed. And I really understand that you like coming to my streams and everything else. But please, just ditch it with the what ifs, okay? I'm just, please, just for the sake of it, okay? Ah. Well, at least you can talk in the private chat, Werewolf Rope, it's fine. At least you can stay there if you wanted to. I'm going to see if anybody else can pop in as well. Like I said, I've still got enough space if anybody else wants to. Um, whew. Again, like I said, there's a lot of other things that are going on. But like I said, despite that, the Thomas Trains fan server is really, really good. I still love what I watch still. It's just the fact is that, I feel like there were times where I wish I could have been a part of it, which I was. But it's just the fact is that, me still being semi-retired and not with the recognition that I would have had, that's just how I feel. And it does upset me sometimes. Even though I'm still a former shadow of who I used to be, you know? I don't really care about the Durrell Valley thing, Robert. Look, bad place and a bad time to ask me such a thing, okay? Just having a look and see what we got as well, because I'm also been very, very busy with a lot of other things at the minute. Um, hmm. Okay. Well, for those of you, like I said, I've also got some good news to tell you. Is that oh, that is weird. That is very weird. Come on, werewolf. You might want to log back in and try again if you can to fix it up. That is weird. Like I said before, the other thing is regarding the Titanic 2 thing that I've been seeing. It's looking very good. It looks like we might be able to make it. Like the whole thing that's going to happen when the new ship is built, it's going to be very, very good. So I'm checking out right now, seeing what updates they've been on it. So just in case, because this is very, very exciting. So far, nice. There's a lot of good stuff that's been going on. The updated stuff has been happening, so it looks like the dream of rebuilding the Titanic is going full ahead. So this is very, very exciting to know. Besides all that, like I said, it's going to be very good. Like when that vessel is constructed eventually, the dream will become a reality, and we're going to have it on our time. We're going to complete that journey that should have been done back 112 years ago. And besides all that as well, there's going to be a lot of other cool stuff happening as well. Like, this is going to be in there. Well, besides all that as well, there's a lot of good stuff I really liked as well. Like
All
those
right,
of
I'm
you who
back.
might
Sorry
know,
about
so
that.
that's all right, Astro. Like I said, I'm trying to keep myself going because sometimes it feels like I'm just talking to myself when it's just myself alone here. Not
Yeah,
that
the
many.
reason why I had to stay muted is because my dad and his partner were just talking while I had to stay muted while on the road.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want you to, like, hear the conversations between them, so I had to stay muted while on the
I
road.
didn't know what was going on. It wasn't none of my business anyway. Either ways, like I said before, I've just been watching a lot of good random stuff. I've been rewatching some of the old San Juan series because they just recently came back with a new short episode, which is
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, I saw that too.
Just yeah, they've come back and they are just as funny as ever. And I'm very glad to hear some of familiar voices that are back and hearing some of the new
Yeah,
ones coming in, and of course seeing the upgrades done. And of course, I'm just looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out. And of course, somebody just left my comment, but just because I'm so happy that the team are back, and
yeah.
I don't know,
I'm
and of
pretty
course.
surprised that we actually got to see Nathan.
Nathan's been back since the thing regarding Reefer Madness, which was good. And then Frank came back at Mountain Spectacular, which I'm still currently watching at the moment, which is one of my favorites. And just seeing some of the other stuff, you know, coming back and hearing some of the new voice actors who are coming in. I'm not sure if they'll ever be able to beat the originals, but I feel like they have plenty of potential. And of course, hearing Greg's voice was all too familiar because I knew who that was immediately. One of the guys who I idolize, a lot. And Dan as well, since the guy who voiced him I was once in contact with once. And and I just hope he recognizes my comment was for him and for everybody else because, I absolutely idolize the San Juan series, and I can only imagine what they're going to do next. And seeing some of the upgrades that they've done, I mean, the original will always be the best, but with this new upgrades that they've had to their models, I'll give them an opportunity to see where they'll go, especially the one that Anthony has had done to him. Like, I have no idea where that one came from, unless that was a custom built variation or just a repackage of the old model. But it looks good. Looks
And
almost
don't
on.
forget that in that short that Gray came back in that too.
Who?
Greg, the Canadian National Steam Engine.
Yes, well, I mean, yeah, because I know who his voice actor is. He's the same, and of course, Annie was back, and of course, she has a new voice actress because the last one who did it was Liz Productions, who's the same one who voiced 311 in my film, bizarrely enough, and now a new voice actor who seems to be good in this one, and now it turns out that Grant, who was voiced by another guy who I'm going to miss, but this new voice actor is now being voiced by the same guy who does Greg now, so that was quite funny too. Um,
Yeah.
and it's going to be fantastic. Like I said, I can only, and it just goes to show I don't know how they do it, but it's brilliant. So I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen now because um, I know it's
Oh
full
yeah.
of
Have you seen
stories
that
I feel like.
one part about the Lucky Caboose, like the two-part videos and stuff?
Oh, that one was one of the best. That was way back in 2020. It was during the peak before my own problems in life exploded. But I love
Yeah,
that
like
one
I
for
was I was also surprised that Wes had no idea that the Class 1 railroads no longer use cabooses anymore because they have been replaced with newer technology.
Well, of course, a lot does happen in when they don't use caboose, they use like a modern flashy thingy at the end, the rear head coupling device. But hey, it goes to show you what happens when railway technology advances over time. And yet, in reality, West and Kent's class, they're all not there anymore in real life, but only in the San Juan universe do they have surviving engines that have lived. This is what prompted me the idea of doing mine with CSW with engines that did live and others that didn't, only to find themselves in this place of the universe. So I feel like it's grand, you know. I mean, as they always say, there's never a dull moment on the Sound One. So I feel like that's the Railroad War, funny and comedy stuff where the fourth wall's always broken, but it is quite hilarious. But again, it's what makes American railroading just so awesome. You know what I mean? So I can't wait to see what else they're going to throw in. So I really am embracing the new series of San Juan. Like, I mean, it will always be iconic with what they did before, but what they'll do now, I've got a gut feeling, or should I say, I've got a smoking, fiery feeling that they're going to absolutely blow us out of the water and break the glass ceiling with their ultimate parody. So if they hear this, you know, San Juan and the cast members, wish you all the best of luck because you guys are awesome. Will always be idolized heroes in my eyes, you know. It'll be fantastic to see what else you've got, you know. So, anyways, like I said, there's so many things that are happening right now, and like I said, speaking on the Titanic thing, I actually have got a Titanic expedition coming up in my hometown of Birmingham, and I'll be there. And it's going to be fantastic. It's the first time they're ever doing it at the NAC, and I'll be going in the summer in about a couple of months' time. You know, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Probably the biggest one I think I've ever seen in a long time. And after that, you know, there's a new Twister film coming out, which is a sequel to the 1996 film of Twister, and I'm going to be seeing that. Possibly that's going to come out like about roughly 9 to 10 days before I go to the Titanic expedition in the same month. So
I am still super excited about Titanic too, though. It's gonna be wonderful.
Oh, definitely. Like I said before, if you go on the Blue Star website line, just type in Titanic 2 and you'll find their website. You'll be captured with all the updates that you need to know, and that's all the proof you need to know that's going ahead. So it's going to be an exciting journey. Like I said before, it'll be the journey that should have been completed 112 years ago, and in a few years' time, in June 2027, it's going to happen. It's when we finally had the dream realized, you know, and it's going to happen in our time. We can finish what was started in 1912, you know, our attempt to rewrite history and bring a happy ending to what should have happened. But at the same time, beginning a new chapter in the Titanic's career, you know, like I know the original's rusting away, you know, at the bottom of the ocean.
It's really bad down there. Like she's disappearing.
Well, like I said, I know the original body of Titanic is disappearing, but with this new one, aka Titanic 2, as I like to call it, I just like to call it Titanic reincarnated in a new body. Okay, so it's in a way it's being reborn for a second chance of life in our time to complete that journey. That's how I like to look at it.
Yeah.
Because
and I would imagine if like there would be such thing as the Olympic 2 and Britannic 2. Imagine how that would be like if there are 3 new replicas of the Olympic class ships.
But then again, that would be nice, bringing back the Olympic and the Britannic, have the Olympic class back together. But then again, Clive Palmer said he is building like 2 more ships to go with this one. If he is going to build the original Olympians back, then that's definitely going to be cool, unless he has his eyes set on other liners that didn't make it into preservation, like I'm not sure if he'd ever go to build a replica of the Mauritania or the Lusitania, or he could possibly build other vessels that didn't make it, you know. So I've got a funny feeling he won't just build just a replica of Titanic. I feel like he'll just go for other liners, perhaps, maybe, that did not survive or that were lost, you know. So I feel like that could be his way. But if he is going to bring back both liners, like Titanic, and then you got Titanic's sisters, the Olympic and the Britannic, that would be a nice fine tribute. So, and of course, from what I can gather, that they have found a shipyard where they're looking for one somewhere in Europe. That's all I know of.
So they actually found. So they found it, huh?
Yes, they're looking at the moment in Europe because obviously in China that's where it was supposed to happen, but it didn't live up to the standard quality. So they've relocated and found somewhere in Europe in order for the construction to take place, but they don't know exactly which one they're going to go for. If they do, I would suggest it be built somewhere closer to home, like not officially in Ireland, but it would be quite nice if Belfast did reopen up its shipyard and they could put it there, perhaps. Irish born bred like the
Yeah,
original. That's another way of doing it if they ever allow it to. But then again, they've got
yeah,
other places in Europe that can build others. So there's the German shipyard that they could have, which are very good at building cruising vessels. And then there's the other one that built the Queen Mary 2 back in 2003, I think it was. That one could also have the potential to do it, but I haven't seen any shipyards in Europe yet who have been, contracted to do it because Palmer hasn't sent out any of the tenders out yet. But at the moment, it does look like there's a good chance that Titanic 2, or should I just say Titanic in a reincarnated body, is going to have, its construction done somewhere in the continent of Europe. So, once they found one, that's where the construction will commence. So then we know it's officially going to start. So that's currently where we're at the moment, from what I can tell.
and it's going to, like once it's finished, it's going to travel at the exact same route as the original Titanic once sailed, right?
That's correct. Like I said, it's to finish that journey. This time, not in vain. It's going to go from Southampton, stop at Cherbourg, France, and then into the Atlantic Ocean, right over the exact spot where the disaster happened, and then on to New York. And if all goes according to plan, it'll sail right back to Southampton and complete that journey. Although the original idea at the time, if you go back to 2012 and from 2013, Palmer said originally that when it was supposed to be built in China, it was going to sail to Shanghai, to Southampton, then it would have sailed up to New York, and then the return journey would have gone back to London. That was the original idea at the time when this whole project was launched back in 2012 after the 100th anniversary of Titanic happened. And of course, to make it also safer, they were also looking for the Chinese Navy at the time to escort the vessel, and then they would have had the Royal Navy to escort the vessel all the way across the Atlantic, and then they would have had an invitation to the US Coast Guard for the US Navy to escort the vessel back to London, because that was the original plan for the journey, at that point. But it doesn't seem like the escorting won't happen. But if Palmer still remembers that, then that'll make the Titanic 2 even more safer, should history ever dare try to repeat itself. Not to mention the vessel's got more than enough lifeboats than it did the last time. Even though the vessel has some of the modernized equipment and everything else, but the experience of the vessel will be exactly the same as the original. Anyway, guys, I'll be just right back for a second.
Oh yeah, and Rope just said that. Have you heard about that? The Queen Mary was reported to be haunted and stuff.
No, I don't believe it one bit. I've been on the Queen Mary in 2012. I was on it for 3 nights, and I didn't see any of that. Not at all. To be honest, I felt like I was on the Titanic, but in a 1930s style. Since that vessel did portray the ill-fated vessel, that was the funny thing about it. I felt like I was out. I felt like I was out in the open sea, and I was just enjoying a lifetime.
Yeah, but the question is, what did make the Queen Mary so haunted? How did this all happen?
Well, I've looked on the wiki site and everything else, but I don't believe any of these stories whatsoever. I find nothing haunting about it at all. Not by a long shot.
Well, it is a mystery, though.
Yep. After I'll still be here. I'll just gotta go somewhere. I'll be right back. I'm just doing the post-site connection.
Oh yeah, have you seen that one video that the SS Shield Hall was sailing past the Queen Victoria? Kane, have you seen that video about the SS Shield Hall was passing by the Queen Victoria while blowing both the whistle and the horn?
I'll have to go downstairs now. Sorry, I didn't know you were coming up. Alright then guys, hold on for a second, I'll be right there. Hold on. I'm still here guys, I'm just moving downstairs.
Oh, is everything all right?
Hang on. Yeah, just
All right.
Hey guys, I'm still here. Not very often I say where I'm going. Yeah, I'm still here, lads. Hold on.
All right. You know, I kind of wish I want to do something like almost very similar to how Daniel Wells did with the Tale of the British Railways. Imagine how, like, if I would be able to do the same thing, but a little more, like, you know, different, with all the American steam, diesel, and electric locomotives.
So yeah, guys, I'm streaming downstairs in the living room. Sorry if this is not very unusual, but this is like not very often I do this. Actually, you can unmute now, mate. I'm downstairs now.
Yeah, just hold on for a sec. Okay, it's done. So, I wanted to ask you, have you seen that video about when the SS Shield Hall was sailing by next to the Queen Victoria while blowing their whistle and horns?
Yeah, I remember that, you know. The two queens meeting each other, that was really good. It's still iconic.
Yeah. Even so, I'm very happy that the Queen Mary 2 continues on the legacy of the original RMS Queen Mary.
Well, like I said, it's the last ocean liner. But then again, what I'd love to see is when the new Titanic is built, just imagine if Queen Mary 2 and Titanic 2 cross paths. I mean, that would send shockwaves. You know, I'd love to see it. And then just think about it. Titanic 2, then, I mean, Titanic herself setting up, and then you meet, you know, the vessel that portrayed it in the films, Queen Mary. I mean, that's a sight people want to see.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see it. Then everybody would be going crazy. Queen Mary fans, Titanic fans. You know, it's the moment, you know, it would be flabbergastingly awesome.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised that there was another Cunard ship that made it into preservation.
Indeed. Queen Elizabeth herself and...
No, I'm not talking about that. It's like one of those steam ships, not the Royal Mail ships.
Oh. Speaking of which...
Did you see that video from Historic Travels? Because he made a video that he spotted another survived Cunard vessel.
I think I did. After we watched afterwards. Speaking of which, Astro, there's the new Cunard Queen Mary, Queen Anna, apparently has arrived at her home. Just recently, she's on her sea trialing. You know, the new Cunard liner had just made it.
Nice.
Queen Annie, or whatever her name is. It's very, very good.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to know the name, huh?
It's brand new, and it's a really good name. I like it. It looks very, very good.
You know, I was also surprised that I remember like there's this one video that tells a lot of history about the Aquitania. Like I'm very surprised that like years later she was now first used as a cruise ship. Like that is very interesting to see.
Indeed. Well, cruising's always going to be around before it. Well, cruising has always been around even before our time and afterwards or whatever. So,
Yeah, because I did remember the last time that shipping companies were like, struggling to compete air travel at that time. The same thing of how railroads were struggling that way too.
indeed. Um,
It's
and
good to know
speaking of which,
that the railroads in America have managed to survive though, while only being carrying freight and not passengers anymore.
that is true.
But it's sad to say that we only have one ocean liner in service.
Queen Mary II is still a modern day liner, despite being well over 20 years old at this point. But I look at Titanic, that's the new one that's coming out, as a more of a floating tribute ocean liner, and rather than just a cruise ship, because after they made a voyage done in 2027, it'll be available for different times, for servicing, and then after that, it will mainly just apply the North Atlantic, and then at different times it will be available for other cruises. So there's that factor. So it will go anywhere it needs to go. And speaking of legends and other stuff besides ocean liners, I suppose some of the legends we should also run is steam trains as well, because like there are other legends that we thought that would never steam again, like NW 611 has had a amazing career since coming back since it retired in '94, which maybe people thought wouldn't happen again, and then it came back in 2015, which really lit the public's imagination alike. And and even before that, there was even one I thought that would never steam back, which was my favorite Mikado engine called Southern 4501, and that was one of the engines I knew growing up in my early years as an American train enthusiast, even though I'm not American. I meant by like in terms of being enthusiastic by what the American trains were like. 4501 was one of them, and still is one of my favorites, and it's still my favorite Mikado.
Yeah, and I also remember that there was one operating Russian built locomotive that was called the St. Louis San Francisco Railway in 1630.
Oh, you mean it wasn't really a decapod, it was a rebuild of others before it became a decapod, but that's a Fresno engine. I mean, that's more like a mini version of the 1500 class.
Yeah,
But then
even
again,
though that both,
it's
but
good to
like
see.
heck, even Western Maryland also have that kind of class as well.
Well, the Western Maryland, their decapods didn't last, but I felt like they were even better than the Fresno one. No disrespect to 1630, the only surviving decapod, in terms of in Fresno wise. But my favorite decapod has to be Strasbourg number 90, because obviously she was the first I ever heard of as the decapod in America, but was also my second engine I ever knew of. And at the time, I didn't know she existed on the Strasbourg at the time when I was growing up.
Yeah, you know what really would be amazing if the Norfolk Southern Railroad would have ever thought of bringing back like in the future for 1218. Imagine that they would make like make more money to use to bring back the 2156, which is the Y6A.
I personally would love to see that one come back. I mean, 1218 and Icon, obviously the strongest in the Norfolk and Western fleet. But obviously, it would be nice if the Y6A one, the one that's slightly smaller than 1218, to come back. That would be nice, and not just to bring in for passenger traffic. I think there's a chance that steam in this day and age could also be suitable for freight traffic, and we've seen trains do that. And I feel like I feel like trains today could make a profit for it, and I think steam power could help out
Yeah,
for it.
that's what I figured about because I did see one footage of a video that the Challenger number 3985 pulled the double stack container train.
That was way back in the 80s and the 90s, or whatever. Yeah, that was back then when 3985 took over for three General Electric diesels, you know, which was pretty
Yeah,
cool. It goes to
and
show that
at least it's
even
still
in that time,
at
it
least it's
showed
still proof that steam is still the most powerful type of motive power.
it can happen if they take over. And I mean, I know there's the freight stuff that Norfolk Southern do it, but hell, I mean, when you see the Norfolk Southern steamed freight stuff, when you see 1218, 765, and 587, or even 611 taking freight, that shows that they can still actually be useful, even though they make quote unquote freight runs to get to the next passenger convention, And most of the times, when you see them what they used to look like in the 50s versus the modern day times, they make a very intriguing look for a steam enthusiast to show what it was like in the final days of steam, which I feel like is quite cool as well. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I feel like there is a use for it. I mean, even 614 in 1985 when she was doing the test runs for the Ace 3000 project, she absolutely outperformed the modern day diesels by taking coal trains there and back in the Virginian Blue Mountains, and did a heck of a good job. So I feel like possibly, steam has a chance to shine for freight servicing in our modern day time, even though, things are changing again, but I still feel like there is a contingency for it.
yeah, and
Besides
mostly
adding
because I
passenger.
remember correctly that like the former Class One railroads had to abandon some of their branch line services because of all the like I said that the railroad was falling from the competition of air travel and highway traffic.
But in today's time, who needs competition for air traffic and whatsoever? I mean, the preservation era should do it. Bring back some of the lines that are closed or other reasons. For those that don't run, bring them out again. Hell, even some of the lines that we have lost in the UK are being speaking about being reopened now to connect for mainline trafficking. So I just feel like the railways are just making a comeback, despite with the modern tech that we've got. So I just feel like the railways do have a place in our modern day time, regardless how old things are going to get.
Yeah, and you know what? If they would ever make plans to restore the Bud RDCs, imagine if they would still be very useful for branch line services, just like they used to do back in the day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Branch lines do hold a purpose, whether it's big or for small reasons.
Yeah, heck, even their predecessors like the Doodlebugs, they've been doing pretty well, but only a single engine in the Doodlebug was not enough to carry pull even the trailing passenger cars, like maybe like three or four. The Doodlebugs were not designed to handle with that much kind of tonnage.
I know which ones you're referring to, like the one that KNL did. They did like the branch dual bugs, which I still have, which I've got playing, which I love playing on though. They're very, very good. I feel like they have a purpose, even though they're not quite diesel related. I feel like they have a purpose. They're basically like buses on wheels almost. And I think, we have a couple of them who are surviving, and they too could work, even if it's for a tram service or to get from one place to another, you know. I feel like
Yeah,
small services have their purpose.
yeah. Heck, imagine if both the RDCs and the Doodlebugs, how they would really both work together, even though like there may be like between difference between each other, but they're still like the same like self-propelled passenger cars.
Well, if you were to ask me, like I said before, I mean, oh well, recently Canal Trains, speaking of which, they've been celebrating 12 years like recently. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they have really had made wonderful engines that they have recently been publishing out.
But sadly, they re-released the K4s and the and of course
And don't forget
the
about,
cars.
I remember I did see their previous video about the Streamline K4 that was used for the Broadway
Oh
Limited.
god, that engine I was so glad that they did because I wanted them to build that so badly. The problem is their rolling stock on the coaches work tremendously, man, but the train itself doesn't. Their tenders will function, but the main body of the engine does not, and that's what I'm very upset about because they only seem to work for trains upwards and not for 12, which is what I've got. I don't get it. Their rolling stock will work, but their main
Yeah.
body will not. So I was very disappointed because I was going to use some of them for my CSW branch routes.
Yeah, and I feel very kind of bad that the Broadway Limited was discontinued by Amtrak since 1995.
And don't get me started on Amtrak. They were good for what they could do for some things, but not always. And for them to discontinue certain things that should never have been discontinued, it just doesn't work in my opinion.
And you know what? I did see that video, like it was released back in 1987 when they were celebrating the 85th anniversary of the Broadway Limited at that time. Which basically, from what I've heard, that the Broadway Limited was originally named called the Pennsylvania Special in
Makes
1902.
sense. Well, that makes sense. And speaking of which, I also like the fact that, despite they're going to build the T1 thing that they're going to do, I still feel like there's a good chance if they ever did bother, they should have gone back and built, like, I don't know, they should rebuild like a brand new Pennsylvania J1 Texas 210-4, which was the most powerful that they ever had, you know? And I think that could work for modern day freight servicing. And
Yeah.
if they were smart enough, imagine if they built the FG1 articulator, despite it's just a rip-off of the 1218 class. It would work for modern day freight trafficking with its brute power and strength.
Yeah, and like I always know, like back in the 1940s, that there would be wartime restrictions that locomotive builders in the U.S. were not allowed to build any locomotives for other railroads at that time because of the war restrictions.
Yes, that is true. But can you just? I can only imagine if that restriction hadn't happened. I can only imagine what engines we would have got during the war that would have been built for war purposes.
Indeed.
If just say if there was no restrictions during the wars or whatever, imagine what new engines could have been built for it. And it could have
Heck,
probably worked.
they even also declined some of the passenger services as well during that time in the war.
Well, of course, obviously, we had to fight for survival at that point, In any cases, like you said about the doodle bugs, I'm fine with them, but the MP54 electrics, I didn't really like them as much.
Yeah, and also, for what I've heard from Amtrak guy 365, he did say that the windows of the MP54s have been ripped off because of the Metroliner cars passing by so fast.
Oh, I know who that guy is, Track 55. Yeah, he's the one who did the Cass City and series, if I'm not mistaken.
He basically made some videos of engines of Amtrak, which though that is my favorite kind of videos that he made, especially 4 videos of engines of New York Central.
That's nice. So yeah, this is really, really cool. Like I said, I'm trying to keep myself occupied. Just keep my sharp eye on the battery here because I'll have to wrap this up very soon. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's just really, really good to see what could have been,
Have you heard about when the New York Central Railroad had like this accident when there's like an accident at the Park Avenue Tunnel?
I've heard about it, but I never saw it.
Yeah, it was a very like a worse disaster at the time. And do you want to know how this all happened?
It was one of the worst, but not like the worst.
Let's just say that the tunnel was actually clouded with smoke because of the steam engines going under the tunnel. Due to that, it actually permanently banned the steam into the city limits.
Jesus. I can understand why the Pennsy did the whole thing about electrifying, and they would use those diesels to bring them in, like the GT electrics and the other stuff to prevent that. But honestly, if they did that in today's time with regarding oil burns and whatnot, I can only imagine how cool that would have been. Like, I know it's different to coal burning, but at the same time, I can only imagine what would have happened if that had been the case. If they, if trains had stopped or whatever, if they, wouldn't stop from getting to New York or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, heck, even if that disaster occurred in the Park Avenue Tunnel, the New York Central was not going to give up on that because they also electrified the at the tunnel as well, and that's how they first got their electric engine, was known as the S motors.
Hmm.
And then
Indeed.
luckily we have three of them that made it into preservation.
Oh, that's good. Again, Amtrak Guy 365, he's very good. I mean, I like the video he did about how did 611 become an icon, and the Milwaukee Railroad Hiawatha Streamliner Spotlight was very, very good. But I love his series too. I mean, he, much like Sam One, also inspired me to do my CSW because his Cass City branch was cool, and then you had the Marysville, which was quite interesting, and then you had his new one, which he was doing at the time, which was the Grange
Yeah,
branch or whatever it was, which I was really getting behind with. It was a very good one. Again, those guys alone are what inspired me. Um,
yeah.
you know,
Oh
they what
yeah.
inspired me to
In
what
the
I'm
in
doing
the in
now.
the in the shorts of the San Juan Branch Line series, have you seen that one clip that Nathan had derailed on a sharp curve?
That was the one we were just talking about, earlier on, the one that just came back. Yeah.
Yeah, you should know that larger engines can't go on tight curves.
Unless you're an articulator locomotive, you can.
Yeah, and same goes for like smaller switch engines as well.
Indeed. The smaller the engine, the tighter around the curve you can go.
Yeah. Oh, and did you see this? Did you see a footage that was caught on a security camera that a runaway hopper crashed into a New York Central switcher engine?
Didn't see that one, but I heard about it.
Oh, trust me, it really damaged the engine as well as the station as well.
Just gonna put my share screen up just to
It was like
here we go.
it was like the worst disaster that had happened at the train station, though.
Just letting you know, here's what I've got at the moment. This is what my CSW thing is turning out to be at the minute. Like, here's some imagery. There's 311 coming on a new home. There's the Doodlebug, who's officially part of my fleet, who was given the name Saluka. There's the entranceway, by the way, to get into the branch.
Hmm. Do you have any opinions about the doodlebugs?
They're okay. They're really good. They're the only thing I liked about them anyway, and that's why I got one of them on my fleet. They're really good. There's 311 walking through. Oh, this one I did as a nighttime thing where it's climbing up the grade. This is one of the two hills on the branch line. This is the first one it gets up to. And of
That's
course,
nice.
oh yeah, definitely. I just let the camera there and let the train just crawl up, and I just took the right shot for it. And of course, here's 611 making a visit again. This will be in the dying days of steam, but this is like, again, it's fictional and reality. And then I thought to myself, oh, and of course, these are the two other engines who are actually in my series. There's Bradley, and that's Roger.
Nice. Oh yeah, speaking about the NNW engines, did you know about another surviving M-class locomotive that made it into preservation?
Yeah, 74. I know 475 is the main one, but I know there were others who did survive too, which is a good thing.
Yeah, there is. I did find some pictures of 475's sister engines, which is basically number 433.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, there's the doodle bug. Again on my train ride as I'm doing, again making it like it was set in that time period.
Do you have opinions about the Bud RDCs?
Not very often. I don't know. I have my strong opinions, but I don't always like sharing them very often. And of course, just for a fun joke as well, I even put the daylight on the branch too. My favourite, 4449.
Yeah,
The best northerner, in my opinion,
indeed.
period. I mean,
I did
611 is
remember
something.
that 4449 double headed with 844.
Yes, back in 1975, I think it was 77 or wherever it was, when they first met. But honestly,
Yeah, and heck, I even saw that video that they also was like racing each other neck and neck.
yeah, that's the one they're best remembered for. 1989, on the 50th anniversary of Union Passenger Station's anniversary, then they raced in the on the Canyon together, which was iconic.
Yeah,
Here's
it's
we
like
get into
it's like
it.
it was like doing like the Southern Pacific versus Union Pacific.
Almost, but they weren't rivals anymore. But in any cases, here's 44, 49, and of course 611. Two Northerners who have yet to meet, which I feel like would be the crowning dueling moment in preservation. Two famous Northerners who have yet to meet. And I think it would. I think it should happen. I mean,
Yeah,
611 has gone all the way as far as Strasbourg, so I feel like would there be a chance that the Daylight and the M&W would have met?
yeah, that would have been very cool if that would actually come to reality.
It should
Don't you
happen.
think? It would be very much become a reality if if it ever happens, though.
And here's a little fictional. Here's the entrance I've done all my upgrading on the CSW branch line. This is where you get into it. There's Roger doing some shunting. And of course, if you're guessing who that is, that's not 611 and it's not a J type. It's actually a Norfolk and Western K2 Mountain.
Oh yeah, I've seen the images about those engines too. And to be
Which,
honest, I'm very surprised that they actually share the same streamline shrouding design.
well, actually, not all of them were streamlined. Some of them were given an upgrade to compete with the diesels since the J's were very, very successful at it. And of course, this is actually my OC. This is actually me on the CSW. Since I felt like using a northern type for 611 was like over the top, I felt like why don't I just use the smaller variation of them, their K2 cousins.
Yeah. Could you like hold on for a minute? I'm gonna do something really quick.
Yeah, sure thing, I can wait. And of course, to give you a little upgrade, guys, if 311 did make it on her new home on the CSW, this would have been it here. Well, this is kind of just a test thing I was doing just for some fun. This is her arriving on one of the first locations at Craigsville Station outside an airport.
All right, I'm back.
That's all right. I just showed the guys what was going on as well. Like I said, in case you're wondering who Roger is, by the way, Astro, that's actually a non-survivable diesel. It was actually a Baldwin A16 Alka type, and none of them didn't survive. And here, Roger's one of them in my universe.
Oh, and speaking about Alco, I did see
They're not Alka. These are Baldwin. These are Baldwin type.
oh, Baldwin. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Baldwin A. Hang on, let me just go back for a second.
Oh yeah, have you seen two of the Baldwin RF16 sharp nose diesel engines?
Uh, not my cup of tea, bro.
I'm really surprised that everybody is now calling them shark noses.
Well, they are shark noses. I just don't say that. Crud, where are you? Where are you, 611? Oh, it must be in this one here on my. Oh yeah, here are some earlier shots I took during this CSW's prime time. This is on the main line section.
You sure do collect a lot of these trains in Train Z.
Well, it's because, well, of course I do, because it's one of my favourites. It's from my game. Oh, there it is. There's 311 in the background. This was the first time I ran this little thing. Let me see. Is it? Yeah, that's it. That's what Roger is. A Baldwin AS-16. If you go and look them up, you'll know that they had plenty of them, but sadly none survived.
Man. And it seems to me that Baldwin was like having some trouble with all the, the diesel engines at the time, since the Class 1 railroads were complaining about their designs.
Well, let me just have a look at the Baldwin.
Because the reason of this is because their controls in the cabs are not, similar designed as EMDs, Alcos, and GE's type of controls.
Okay, oh, here it goes.
With that, some of the railroads were complaining about it, and they were not happy when Alco had built their own. Baldwin, not Alco, Baldwin, since they were having some problems with the controls and stuff that are basically are uncompatible with other engine builders.
There you go, mate. I put it in the chat box. That's what Roger's class is.
All right. Neat. By the way,
there we go.
I want to ask, what's your favorite Namco video game? My favorite game would probably be Pac-Man and Galaga.
Oh man, I'm not really into games as much, but oof, that's a tough one. There you go. I've uploaded the usage of what they were used for, though. So yeah, that was their usage. If you read on the bottom, that's what they were used for.
Yeah. Oh, and have you seen a model from Lionel that they have made a broken down B unit?
I heard they did.
Yeah. Usually sometimes, like back in the old days when older diesels have B units in the middle, it's like the EMD F engines.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they can have oil leaking, and sometimes they could cause overheating and begin to fail.
I see.
With that, the driver on the A unit, which has the cap on the end, had to slow his train down to make sure that the B unit does not overheat it that quickly. And they would have to stop at the next yard for the backshot crews to have the B unit repaired.
Okay, I'm just going to hit back on my share screen again. Okay, now you said about, like I showed you, the first grade that goes up the CSW branch. Well, here's the big one. And I'm not talking about Saluda grade. Here's the one I did recently, showing a FG1 taking its train. That's at the bottom of the grade, slugging its way halfway up already. This is basically the hill on the CSW branch that everyone challenges to get up through, and it's basically called Clarkston Hill. This is basically near the halfway point on the branch line.
Interesting. Oh yeah. I'm guessing that you also heard about the Doodlebug disaster, right?
Yeah, I did. Shame, really. But still, it wasn't too much to damage their reputation.
Yeah. And all because of that led to the disaster was carbon monoxide. poisoning. Like that's really bad for your body.
Well, of course, it burns up oxygen. It's the reverse variation.
Yeah, and sometimes some of that could cause a lot of problems when you're using that kind of gasoline, though. You may not know what was going to happen to it if it contains carbon monoxide.
Well, then again, that is the negativity towards oxygen. It can make you feel bad.
The
Oh, and
reason
speaking
why
of which,
the blue blood is still because of that.
indeed. Any cases, here's on the other side of Cloxton Hill, by the way, Astro. This is at the bottom of the grade, although the climb is not done. Like that's the halfway section, and then you turn around and then you go back to flat ground for a bit, and then you slowly dip just a bit more, and then you're back to actual flat groundings. And so yeah, that's as far as the climb goes. It's not like completely all the way around, but it does show you the toughness that they have to go through. I mean, the other one I showed you with 311 going up the first grade, which I haven't got a name for it just yet, that goes on for a while, but it's not as steep as the one I've just showed you just. So there are two hills on the CSW branch line.
Okay.
As for if my battery holds up long enough, hold on.
Okay.
Oh. Seems like I'm having a bit of an issue problem here on one of my GPS.
Oh dear.
No, it's not your fault. It's just I'm having a problem with one of my models who are not downloading properly.
Oh.
It's natural to be
Oh
honest.
yeah. I've also had an issue when I was trying to download the S100 tank engine. When I downloaded it, it had an error.
Yep, I know. The classic Penzi error, yeah. Except when I saw High Iron, the guy who does the Sam 1 stuff along with Dan and the others, I didn't know how he solved the problem. It seems like he either had a new one built or it was from a different website. I don't know. But it looked pretty good.
Yeah, when I first downloaded the S100, when it was completed downloading, there was a red exclamation mark saying that there was a problem with the engine, that it's not working correctly because of its data problems.
Well, if anybody's built an updated variation of it nowadays, if they have, that'd be perfect. But then again, heck, I even asked K&R that one time, and they said they weren't interested about doing it. But I said, and they said they liked the suggestion, but they won't go for it. But they've actually been thinking about building one engine that I think a lot of us would be likely to see, and that would have been the Penzi turbine locomotive. And they told me that, and I was thinking the turbine Penzi engine. I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, the S2. I know what you mean. That was the S2.
They've been thinking about building that one. They've considered about going for that one. And I'm thinking that could work because a lot of fans have been wanting that version. And I actually like that locomotive. Either trains Ford or
But even
K&L.
if the engines have failed in real life, they still have a successful life as a model locomotive.
Oh, definitely. I mean, heck, in the trains universe, like on our computers and our train simulators and models, we can keep the legends alive as they were successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Just alter history. Just make history how it should have gone.
that doesn't mean like in train schemes or in models, like will not fail.
That's what I mean. In train simulators and models, that's our way of keeping the legends alive. Same thing with the S100.
You know what I always think? Imagine if Lionel really go on the project of Q1 and Q2.
I agree.
That would have been awesome if they would have developed like that.
The other one I also like was the other big 90-scale engine, which was oh, it seems like Astro's left. Oh dear. Oh wow, we've done 1 hour and 20 minutes on the stream. That's really good. It seems like I'm losing track here a little bit. I'll have to wrap this one up. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you did enjoy that with me and Astro talking around, and hopefully we'll come back at some point. Sorry, Astro. Sorry about this, Astro. I'm going to have to wrap this one up a bit in a few minutes because I'm running out of battery time. But it was good for you to pop in anyway, and if you ever want to, you're more than welcome to. The next time we speak about anything to do with railroads and everything. So, again, thanks for commenting and thanks for being a part of it anyway. And
No
hey,
problem, man.
Billy,
I've always been glad to be here.
it's fine, mate. Hey, Billy Dud, it's been a while since I've seen you too, but you came at the wrong timing because my streaming is ending at this point. But at some point, I will come back. But this has been my Titanic 2012 post stream, which I said I was going to do, even though I haven't talked much on the Titanic, despite I tried to. But when you're on my streams, we're bound to bounce from one topic to another, but that's just how it goes. That's our way of
Yeah.
entertaining you guys. Anyways, lads, I have to get going at some point, but it was nice for you coming on, Astro, and for you guys who have tuned in, I'll see you guys another time. But it's been fun while it lasted, and this is Game Fan 701, and see you guys again for another time when I stream again. So, ciao for now, folks.
Yeah. See you later, fellas.